is my baby.
I'm Dana Denha.
And I am Melissa Bondi, and this is Adventures in Parenthood, where we take a ride on the roller coaster that we call parenting.
Finding foods that it tastes good and are good for you is a daunting task, specifically when you're talking about kids. When they peruse the aisles of the grocery store, their little eyes land right on the wrong foods. We can be at a loss when it comes to eating healthy during snack and meal times. I know I am a lot of times. I struggle with this. I feel like Keaton does not eat enough vegetables for sure.
Okay.
And
Sure.
I even find fruits can be, it's like I feel like a nag. That's what it is. And I don't want food, like I don't want her to feel like I have to nag about eating healthy, because healthy food does taste good.
Right. And I found that we do a lot of rewarding, and as well as kind of putting the carrots with the ranch, or the, kind of pairing vegetables with something else, whether it's, another fruit, or it's a lot of pairing and rewarding in our home. And I found another big tip that I've this last couple of months, especially, is when she says, I'm hungry, or can I have a snack, or I'm still hungry. Oh, those words, I'm still hungry. I make her take a big gulp of water, take a drink of water, and then let me know how you feel. And I found that it's worked quite a few times. And they say it's not, I didn't, make this up, but when they say that, there's some truth to that.
Well, I mean, those are words I hear all the time. We'll be done with dinner. And then it's like, I'm still hungry. And I'm like, you should have eaten dinner more then. What are you talking about? You're still hungry. I'm not hungry. So that's
right.
That is also, so that's every kid. That's just not Keaton. That's like, because this is something that gets on my husband's nerves really badly. Like, he gets so mad that she's asking for food right after dinner, when you feel like she sort of didn't really eat dinner well enough to begin with, And I do that stuff too. I add ranch to vegetables and stuff, but then I get like gagging and like, oh, I need to spit this out. And I'm like, you got to get better, girl, because I'm just going to keep adding more vegetables. Like, the fighting the vegetables makes me want to push it more. You know what I mean? I'm like, stop it. Just eat them. You'll like them.
Have you tried everything? Like, I mean, we've tried a lot of different ones, just to go down the list. What sticks, what doesn't?
Oh, I try different stuff. Yes. I mean, like, we do, carrots, broccoli, cauliflower, like vegetables are the hardest, honestly. Fruit, you can find a fruit that they like. You can hone in on a fruit because they're sugary.
Right.
But vegetables are so hard. Like, for a while, she really liked cucumbers, and then all of a sudden she was so grossed out by them. But then I got her to start eating them again, because I'm like, stop grossing yourself out by the one thing that you actually will eat,
I think too, it's experimenting with the way you make it. So our air fryer has been a really good friend this last year, and as well as how you prep it and prepare it. And that's where the cooking skills come into play, for us parents.
Well, talking about cooking, our next guest is sort of an expert in the field. Joining us is Vlada Vladic, founder and CEO of Vlada Seeds of Life and host of Cooking and Kids. Welcome to the show, Vlada.
Thank you for having me.
I'd like to know a little bit more about you. Where are you from originally? And then why did you sort of get on this mission to make kids specifically, healthy in the United States?
Thank you. First of all, thank you for inviting me to your program. And thank you for the opportunity to share a story about the cooking and kids. And the story of it begins in Serbia, where I was born, in a very tight and a well-connected community, where on a large farm among animals and people and wheat and corn and sugar beets, cherry trees, plums, apples, and you just name it. So God was very gracious to plant me in such an environment and allow me to grow up the way I did. And to this day, I owe a lot of my being or my character to the way I grew up. So one of the things was obviously a good food, which was all natural. We produced basically all the food we ate, except sugar, cinnamon, vanilla, and things like that. So food was a key component in raising a healthy young life. But in addition to that, nature, we had a nature, and we were outside, playing with mud and climbing trees, chasing frogs, mice, bees, you just name it. And also taking care of animals. So we had a direct contact with nature. And to make it all even better, we had a tight community in which you were not parented just by your mom and dad, but you were parented by grandparents and your friends' grandparents and the neighbors' aunts. So basically the whole community was helping raise you. Now, when I say that, it all sounds idyllic, which in reality it wasn't. My family, looking at from this perspective and what I know today, was very much dysfunctional. And by all means, I should have grown up to be a different person. Yet there was enough support system through all of these, through food, to keep me healthy and clear in my head and my spirit, through nature to keep to beautiful things around me, kept me, the health helped shape me to who I am today and love me. That I realized that how important all these ingredients are. And so growing up in Serbia was wonderful, and I had these beautiful opportunities to grow up as a healthy human being and a young woman. But the system in Serbia was not set up to support that life and allow that life to flourish further, which means to reach your full potential in your creativity, in your dreams, in your desires, and so on. So when I was 19, I came to United States by myself, and I have loved this country ever since I was a little girl. Because
I'm going to stop you right there for a second, Vlada, because we're going to just take a quick look at your show that you're creating with your two kids. They're so adorable. Tune into Channel 18 to catch the CTN premiere of Vlada's show, Cooking and Kids, and watch a short clip now.
Welcome to Cooking and Kids. My name is Vlada Vladic.
Together with my son Marco and daughter Michaela, I'm on a mission to teach American families how to cook and eat healthy.
Watch out, junk food, because here we come. Come and join us as we create new recipes and learn old world cooking skills. This show is for all of you young cooks and gardeners. So let's get it done and let's have some fun.
We're back with Vlada, and she was telling us her story, and she just left off when she came to the US at the age of 19 years old. Why don't you continue? What happened then? You come to the US and you're like, people aren't eating healthy. I mean, how did this mission start?
When you come to another country, like most immigrants and most foreigners who arrive to this country, you got to establish yourself. So you're not thinking about food. You're thinking about how to survive and how to make a So it's all about work. And I love to work. And this country was set up for people who were eager to advance. And to make a long story short, between 19 and my 30s, I was able to become a millionaire. And not because I was so successful or capable, it was simply because the system was set up for you to succeed if you apply yourself.
You basically are living the American dream, right?
It just absolutely, people continue to say that and to say America is changing today and things that, not the same, but I'll tell you that opportunity is still out there. Now, to take us back to the dream of the young girl who dreamed about coming to America and allowing herself to do whatever she wanted, because that's the one thing I couldn't do in my country. Now I was in my 30s and I became a mother. And once you become a mother, that instinct of protecting and nurturing amplifies so much more. And at the same time, my husband got ill. He had a heart disease, and we found out that he needed an open heart surgery. And all these things are developing where I'm more mature. I'm more aware of my children's needs, my husband's health needs. And I'm at that time observing what's going on in America in general, especially with young children and families. So it was devastating to realize that children in America are dying because we have too much food. You have children in the world, they're dying because, or they are malnourished or sick because there's no food. We are a rich, capable, advanced country. There's no reason why our children should have a diabetes when they're in their early teens, or have cancers, leukemias. And on the top of all of that, our children are now suffering with a number of emotional and mental illnesses. So for me, it was very easy to put 2 and 2 together. So here I'm in this country, and I love this country. I believed in it so much. I left everything behind. I came alone, and I realized my dream. And in order to run a country, you need a good spirit. You need people have to be strong in heart, physically, mentally, emotionally. So you see what's going on, and I'm thinking, in 50 years, where's the spirit of this country? Who's going to carry the spirit of this country if we raise generations who don't feel good? And it just touched my heart, and on so many levels. I have children. I see kids getting sick. I see the long-term side effects because my husband now was sick. His heart and kidneys are failing, and so I said, okay, I came to this country. I accomplished what I needed, not to earn the money, but to prove myself that I could. And it was a time to give back. So to give back, you can only give back what you're good at, or what you have. And what I have is the way of life I had as a child, meaning that, I realized that America could benefit from reconnecting, from bringing more of that old way of life into this modern life of ours, to being connected with neighbors, to going back to gardening or cooking. Let's forget the gardening. Let's just start cooking at home so we can more quality family time. We need to reconnect with our kids if we want to save our country. If we want to save ourselves and our children, we need to go home. We need to start spending that quality time with our kids. We need to engage our kids with our community. They have to become more socially diverse. We have to take them out of their dark rooms with the gadgets, and teach them a thing or two about the nature, teach them about gardening, teach them about good people in community, connect them with elderly, connect them with their peers in a neighborhood. So my passion is to start healing our country from the bottom up. Everybody's talking about what's going up here with the politics, with issues, forget that. We need to go all the way back to the family structure, to the neighborhoods, and any of us who love this country and care for this country should go back home and start taking care of their family first and helping raise healthier kids. So with all that said, forgive me, I'm talking so much. With all that said, you get to the point, okay, so what am I going to do about it?
So Vlada, I want to know, I have to cut you off because I'm dying to know, what was the aha moment that you had to motivate you to create your own show, your own cooking program, and understand, I'm understanding where this is all, coming from. I get the background, but what was that moment that you were like, I'm going to make a show because I received it. I'm here in Michigan, and this is nationwide. So I find that amazing in itself.
Well, the beautiful thing about this country is that it gives you freedom to change things. I mean, it gets to me how much opportunity average American has to, you can do anything you want. To me, I could not do this in my country. You are not allowed to voice your opinion. Nevertheless, package it and distribute it nationally. Every thought was controlled. And yet we as Americans, every one of us has a opportunity to whatever is brewing inside you, do something about it. There are vehicles and ways to make a difference. So to me, it's very hard not to get upset about what's going on with food industry in this country. You can get very frustrated. You can start be very bitchy and just go like other people, or you can simply say, you know what, there's something I can do. And what I'm good at is people, loving, nurturing. I'm a storyteller. And I had an urge to say other things, not just to teach kids to cook. I think that's where we start. That's where the story happens, in a kitchen. So, there are cooking shows everywhere. And suddenly there's an explosion of cooking shows. And we are entertained up to our ears. Every show is a competition. It's this food. I mean, forget that. Food is not a competition. Food is love. This is what glues us together.
So we're going to take a short break. And from our chat to hear some words of wisdom from our local sensei as we kick it with Keith Hafner.
Hi there, my name is Keith Hafner. I'm the owner of Keith Hafner's Karate in downtown Ann Arbor, Michigan. I've been working with parents and their kids for nearly 50 years. Not only that, I'm a parent and a grandparent myself. If you've got young kids, you'll notice that they do a lot of things, some of which you like and some of which you don't like. To me, what's important is not so much what happens with your kids, but it's all about what happens next. For example, they're going to do some things that you're not real crazy about. And what's crucial is that what happens next teaches them not to do that thing again. And if you look at your kids and they do a whole bunch of things that you don't like, I think it's smart to look back and see, how did they learn that that was okay? What were the consequences of them doing that the first 15 times they did it? And I think once you have that in mind, you become empowered to encourage them to use positive behavior more and more and more because of the what happens next. And attention always motivates repeat behavior. And so what you're going to try to do is to draw positive attention always to the behaviors that you're trying to increase. And the trouble, I think, for a lot of kids is that sometimes when they do the positive things, no attention comes. It's just kind of neutral. And that teaches them that it didn't really matter. So it's not so important what happens, but it's really important what happens next. See you next time.
We're back with Vlada, and she's giving us tips on leading a healthy lifestyle. You were talking about how important it is to cook with your kids. And, this is something that I think about sort of often because, I'll bake with my daughter. We'll bake treats and stuff, but I really need to get her more involved in when I cook dinner at night. You know what I mean? I need to get her getting the veggies and stuff because it is hard. Kids that are 4 years old, 5 years old, they scoff at vegetables, even though you're eating them in front of your, I'm eating vegetables. I'm these are great. I love them. And then it's really hard still. So what you're doing, it's a nonprofit organization. You're looking for support and you're teaching people how to teach their kids to be healthy.
Mm-hmm. That's a big undertaking.
Well, you know what? At least we're bringing attention to the need of being together and cooking together and eating healthier. It's so many things in your child's life depends on it. Besides teaching them how to cook, our YouTube channel and our Cooking Kids and television program also teaches children how to garden, how to preserve food. I mean, what happened with COVID last year, that's just justifies a need to have these skills in our kids' lives. God knows what's going to happen in the next decade or 2 or 3. Our kids, or in general, our society should be capable to sustain itself. I want to bring more of those skills back into young lives. But most of all, we want to reconnect American families and communities.
Well, I think this last year or so is the perfect in itself, the perfect way to do that. I mean, it was you're home, you're with your family, And, obviously a lot of new hobbies were started and those bucket list things that people wanted to do were done, and we were able to stop and breathe and do it.
And
So
one of the big things is gardening. Like you heard a lot more about people starting little gardens at their houses because they were home all the time, which I think is a really good way. I remember, you talk about being in Serbia and like having all these vegetables and stuff. When I was a kid, my grandma had this really, really big garden, and she had a field in the back of her house. And I remember she would like pick rhubarb and stuff and just give it to me and we'd eat it. And I love those memories. Like that's like, I cherish that. And I think a lot of people would if they did that at home with their own kids.
It works like a charm. And I'm so devoted to getting America outdoors and reconnecting families through cooking and gardening, that this is the third year we have started a program called Little Sprouts, which donates free seeds to public library systems. So we're right now in Southern California. If for anybody who's watching your program as a charity, we're trying to raise enough money and get more companies involved so that we can distribute free seeds nationwide. So every spring you can go to a library with your kids and pick up seeds. So that's the next mission beside the television program.
Wow, you have a lot of missions. You have a lot on your plate, and I love your attitude towards it. It's like you're making change. You are doing it.
This is the country for dreams, for busy hands. So that's the most beautiful thing about America and being American, is that you can do whatever you want. And it is your country, your responsibility, and you have the ways to take care of it. So I wish to inspire other people to step up and just do what they can to keep this country as amazing as it is.
You mentioned in your little tease, you mentioned about like ridding your family of junk food and stuff like that. Do you have tips for people that like, my daughter's like, I really want chips. I really want to eat some chips. Like, what do you give your kids for that snack? What are some good tips for snacks? I think are really hard.
Number one, there's no way around chips in life. So, so often, I come home with a huge bag of chips and say, okay, just take your pig out. And we do. But the rest of the time, the people say healthy food is expensive. It's not. I come from the expensive place. 99-cent store carries all kinds of wonderful fruits. So the trick is, once you're done with that bag of potato chips, the fridge is stocked with berries, with grapes, with apples, with things that, if they get bored enough and hungry enough, eventually they will just reach for them. Or, you get kids in front of TV, they just do this automatically. And all I do is just put what I want them to eat, and they don't even know they're getting their good minerals. And so there's a way to do it. But junk food has its place in our lives, and it's not going to leave. So we should just
minimizing your intake.
Yes.
Right. It's balance, right, with everything. And especially when it comes to nutrition and diet, it's about balance. I've always told you can't cut that stuff out, or, it won't be a good outcome. You just got to balance it out. I think that's what a lot of us parents struggle with, and trying to find the balance in that, the apples versus the chips or the pretzels or the carbs or the salts. So, yeah.
Well, we're going to be back in exactly 60 seconds with more from Vlada. Peace out. We're back with Vlada Vladic, who's on a mission to fight childhood obesity. But you also mentioned on the break that, it's also about getting involved in your community, being a part of the community. And if you're not doing it as an adult, it's really hard for your kid to want to be a part of it. You mentioned that being on screens all the time. I think that's something we all suffer with. But I really do make it a point to let's go outside. The middle part of the day, we're outside because that you're completely away from the screens. In the house, it's harder. And another thing that I noticed in the house is you talked about junk food and just sitting and eating. And I notice probably for almost everyone, when you're bored, you have a tendency to want to sit and eat junk food.
Correct. So keeping kids occupied it's very, very important. And so keeping them occupied is keeping them involved in family chores. If you don't have time to go outside, if you don't have a ranch and outdoors, there are still things that need to be done in house. So one of the things in our family, I simply expect my kids to be involved, to cook, to clean, to put dishes away, to do laundry, to vacuum, countless opportunities. And I think children should physically participate in family matters. I mean, there's no such a thing as, well, they're too little.
I completely agree with this because I think I've seen it happen in my own life. If you don't require your kids to have responsibilities around the house when they're young, they don't know how to be responsible in those ways as an adult. They have to learn that trait as an adult. So you don't want your daughter to grow up and move out of your house and then be a slob. This is what I tell my daughter all the time. I go, you need to learn how to clean now. I know you're 4 or 5, but you need to know how to clean now so you know how to clean later.
Absolutely. I was a very good student when back home, and my mother totally ignored that. She said, go ahead and become an astronaut, but one day you're going to be a mother and you're going to have to navigate young lives, and you will be the source of all that they know. And so she could care less, so ironing, knitting, canning, cooking, obviously, preserving food, all kinds of things that a lot of girls didn't do. She said, I don't care. You need these skills. You don't know what life will bring your way. And I think there's a lot of wisdom in that, because my life was such a challenge, because I lost my husband 8 years ago, and I was left with penniless, 2 kids, enormous debt. So some of those skills and traits that I learned as a child, as well as the culture and character that we learn in family, is what makes you prevail. So yes, demand of your kids. It's good for them.
Well, I think really too, because I remember growing up too, and Dana, you probably remember, we had home ec. There was a class.
Oh yeah, they don't have that anymore.
They don't have that anymore. So it's a very hot button topic when you bring it up now, because it's really, home ec can start at home. It should start at home. You don't have to go to a class, but the class was beneficial. But we need it now, and if we don't have a choice, we have to start those skills at home, and the cleaning and the cooking. With our young ones while at home. So it's a good point, that you've made.
Absolutely right. We expect a lot outside influencers, the school, the education, to raise our kids. We have no right to complain that they have done a poor job if we fail. It starts at home. That is the core. That is the barrier to all the things that you don't want your kids to absorb. So family, parenting, claiming that time and that opportunity to be with our kids and raise them well is crucial.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show, Vlada. It's been a pleasure getting to know you and learn more about your organization and your show, and I can't wait to watch it on CTN.
We're excited.
Thank you both, ladies. The show is super simple. It's a homemade, like everything else that I do, but it's done with love, and I hope it will inspire people to reconnect. And thank you both for doing what you do and giving opportunity to people like me to share our story.
If you have an idea for a parenting show topic or guest, talk to us on Twitter and Facebook at #CTN Ann Arbor.
For more on our programming and services, visit a2gov.org/CTN and visit youtube.com/CTN Ann Arbor to watch a full lineup, and remember to like, subscribe, and share. Thanks for joining us on this adventure in parenthood.